We're starting off high.
We can get
I think
two fools agree on that one. Oh, by the way, look, we got the wide shot.
There was you had accountability. Now what I can
Now all you need is a podcast and a YouTube channel.
no, not even.
Where give me the money. Show me the money.
Apparently there's a Foolproof page.
Shoot the J. Shoot it. Live on Facebook.com/Foolproof Entertainment Network. I need you on Twitter. I need you to repost the Facebook pages.
To raise a human before I would
Trust human to raise back wolves.
before I would trust a pack of humans to raise a wolf.
Right. I hear you. Yo! What up, fools? Welcome to another edition of Do Fools Agree. As always, I'm your host, Michael Reggie, here with my main man, Clifford Jordan Jennings.
What's happening?
What up? I totally almost spaced on what the fuck my intro
I was about to say this thing. I forgot what the fucking where he was, what he was supposed to say.
I glitched.
Let me see.
Oh, man. How you doing, sir?
Sleeper. What's happening?
I say, how you doing, sir?
Oh, I'm cool. I thought she was checking shit.
Well, I was.
I'm cool.
I'm getting hit with a low system resources thing that popped up, and I'm not sure why, but we'll see. Hopefully, it'll straighten itself out. Well, that's good.
Yeah, I'm good. Staying out the way.
Yeah, I mean that's the MO.
Yeah.
No need to elevate.
I only crawl out my hole every now and again.
I mean, I get that. I don't know. This was an interesting week.
What was interesting about it?
I think just one, well, the obvious one, but then two, just the different reactions from folks and kind of the overall non-reaction. Like, it was very interesting to see two different sides of the spectrum, whether it was social media or even within, like, my friend group.
Right.
Like, complete and utter devastation and we did this before. Like,
right.
So that's where, I've kind of defaulted to we've been here before and we're still here, still standing, still strong.
How many elections have we been through on this show? Because I feel like I've said it more than just once, that who really gives a fuck?
No, I mean, we've been through two on the show. Because the 2020 election was our first year. And it was coming out of a Trump presidency at that point. So we've come full cycle. Our first season was heading into a Trump presidency, and our current season is again heading into a Trump presidency. So,
I thought the first one was heading out of.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
We were just coming out of it because that was while we were in the pandemic. So we were heading into coming out of a Trump presidency, and now we're into another one. Which, by the way, has only happened like one other time in the history of the United States, where sitting president not reelected, but then reelected. And do you know who the other president was?
Lyndon Johnson.
Ohio's own. Grover fucking Cleveland.
Grover Cleveland.
So, I don't know. I don't know what that means, but it's interesting. I think it's just
How
interesting
is-
that that's only like. I mean, I guess in most cases, these motherfuckers are so old when they take office the first time, they're not around if they don't get it the second time.
Right. Nah, Grover had the eye on the prize.
I
Who
suppose
did-
so. Who did he beat? Dude.
No, who did he lose to in between?
Great question.
And what parties were they?
Shame on me for not knowing my U.S. history well enough to answer that question off the top of my head.
It was the Taft.
Between Cleveland's terms?
I'm just throwing out presidents that I know. Was it Robert? Oh, Bobby Taft?
Oh, McKinley.
Only McKinley I know is Lyndon.
Well, William McKinley.
Oh, okay. I don't know that white man. What year is all this take place?
The last part of the 1800s. So the 1800s going into the 1900s.
Okay.
All right, we do have a guest joining us.
Okay. Well, bring that guest on in.
I'm working on it. Like I said, computer's giving me a little bit of grief today.
Yeah, I could tell because of cutting in and out ish. Oh, there they are.
Nice self-edit.
You
Crushing
like
it.
you like
Yeah.
that?
I was like, okay. It's tough when you are not around somebody a lot to like
Right.
keep it. So just okay.
I tried to snap into not into character, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. You had to lock it in.
Right.
I got it.
Right. I had to get my mind right. How are you though? How you been?
You know, I'm fine.
That's good though.
In
That's good though. I was
Every
just,
way that immediately matters, I am fine.
and that was
That's all
kind
that
of
matters.
that was kind of how I started this off. Like it was interesting to see the dichotomy even within like the two polycules that like I'm adjacent to. Like one, older folks, they're, you know, mid 40s, 50s, and they were like, yeah, whatever. The ones that were more like closer to my age and a little bit younger, devastation.
Well, I am devastated, but not at all surprised.
That's
I'm
fair.
never going to be shocked when America does like the sexist, racist thing. Like that. I'm just like, yeah, no, that tracks, unfortunately. But it is, I'm real
mean,
happy I moved to Minnesota.
You can bring back all of the current level racism for me if my pockets are better. I don't give a fuck. You know what I'm
That's,
saying?
but to say, honestly, that is the problem. That is
Scream all the
why
slurs you want.
people
bitch. I'm
really
balling.
do not. Here's the thing, though. That's what people think. They're like, man, it'd be great if my gay kid got sent to a concentration camp as long as I have to pay less in taxes. And it's like, hey, actually, you're probably going to have to pay more in taxes. So this is not actually better for you.
Well, and all right, so let's go ahead and get into it. Because I
did have to explain tariffs to a coworker, which was fun.
That's always fun. I think that, and anybody who listens to the show knows that I more than likely voted straight blue down the ticket completely, and I did. That being said, I do think identity politics and the focus on them detracted from any other message. And I think that I was looking up statistics today just because I was curious. And what do you think the percentage, and you probably know this, Sam, but what do you think the percentage of people that identify as LGBTQ are in the U.S.?
I don't know it off the top of my head. It used to be 10%, but it's definitely higher now.
As of a 22 Gallup poll, 2022. So this was 2 years
There are
ago.
less of us, so we die now.
Well, it's 7%. 7.2% was what 2022 Gallup poll did. Now, 2020, the number was like 6.5. And so you're probably right. It's probably right around 10. But you can't win an election going after 10% of the population. You can't.
I guess here's what's confusing to me, because I've seen this a lot on the internets, specifically Twitter and Reddit, of people being like, what identity politics were they playing? Because I did not feel like I was voting for anybody who gave a single fuck about me.
But what I would say
so, like,
is, what I would say,
I keep seeing like pandering to the left, and I'm like, pandering for who? They literally were like, we also want to kill brown children in the desert.
Here's
like, who are we pandering to?
Here's the flip side: is I don't think that they were pandering, but that's exactly how all the attack ads made it sound. Like, Sam, I know you left Ohio. Hey, Cliff, what was Sherrod Brown gonna do if he was elected to office again? He's gonna turn.
I don't know. Whenever I heard that name, I used to try to change the channel and shut it down.
Dude, the number of times or the number of like memes I saw that were like, Sherrod Brown will turn your dead grandfather trans, like, and the whole message from Bernie Moreno, who's a fucking scumbag, was Sherrod Brown too liberal for Ohio. And what did they talk about?
I think I did hear that.
What did they talk about, Cliff? They talked about allowing biological men in women's sports, something the federal government has nothing to do with and is governed by the sport itself. But how many times did you hear that ad? Like,
the way
gaslit.
that I would give my left arm to have the radical leftist Democratic Party that Republicans seem to think that we have. I'm like, I would get laughed off of a stage at the DNC if I said most of what I believe. Like, these people are not.
No, they're not.
They're like moderate at best.
I completely agree with that sentiment. And I think the flip side of it is I think and I'm going to use the term, but liberal-backed media tried to focus too much in on the abortion issue, which Trump really didn't talk about at all during his campaign. Now, do I think he's got some shadowy shit going on with, the whole Heritage Foundation and Project 25? Yes, but he also distanced himself throughout it. So how much is that him being the creepy salesman that he is and telling people what they want to hear when he's talking to that audience versus what he actually gives a fuck about or what he's actually going to try to enforce?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think he gives a fuck about any of it. Honestly, if I thought he believed half of what I said, I think I would respect him slightly more. I think he's just like, oh, this is what the people who have money tell me to say so that I can have the power and the money. So that's what I'm going to say. But there's no way in hell that man is a Christian.
Yeah, no. That dude couldn't name a Bible verse if his life depended on it.
And I struggle. People who are really like, I do think that things will be better with this person. I'm confused based on the everything, but okay. But I have had people literally say, well, for me, it was about the economy. And I'm like, okay, I understand that, but you have to understand that now we are not friends. Like, you don't have a trans friend. You have a trans person because you told me that your pocket mattered more than my life. So, that's cool. I got it. I also literally have negative $550 in my bank account right now. Life is hard.
Deep, though.
But
that's a deep take.
Fuck them for real.
That's a deep take, though.
But when your identity gets blamed for losing an election somehow, and also villainized during a whole election, that was not directed at you, Mike.
No. No, I'm always the villain. I'm the white guy.
Yeah, no, that was not me. That was just the internet. These damn transgenders. I'm just existing.
As a cis white male, I'm always the bad guy.
You can't separate the personal and the political when your personal is made political, whether you like it or not. So, I take testosterone. Though. If they ban gender-affirming care, I can't have my testosterone anymore. That's a controlled substance. Even as an adult, I may not be able to take it because that is their goal. They have said they want to ban gender-affirming care for all trans people, no matter the age. It's
Now,
not
see,
like
that's
we're
not
protecting kids.
that's not the message. That's not the message I've heard, because I've heard it specifically in regards to minors, which I have mixed feelings on. And that's colored with personal experiences in that realm. And I'm not, by no means am I trying to defend. I am trying to look and find, like, light in the darkness type opportunities. Like, if he does what he says he's going to do around, you know, eliminating whatever department, fine. That sets up whoever takes over, assuming we have a transition of power out of Trump, which, you know, that would be a big question mark at this point.
I don't know.
I hear
Go
you.
ahead.
I hear you. But if you destroy some of those systems, and he actually does, like, eliminate some bureaucracy, like, Department of Education is big on the standardized testing that a lot of people feel has dragged schools back. Like,
The Department of Education, that was also how you get sped students to have literally anything besides being locked in a padded room.
I don't disagree.
There are absolutely issues with the way our government does almost everything. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think that taking away everything that runs those, like, I don't think the education system is going well. But when your plan is, well, I just will destroy the governmental part of it and let the companies run it.
Well, and
that's a nightmare. I don't want my kid, I'm never having kids. What am I talking about? I don't want my niece going to, like, school TM brought to you by PepsiCo. That's not, like, a thing I would prefer to happen.
Which, guess what? They already do. Like, the textbook companies, they already do. Like, the textbook companies run the Department of Education.
Pearson makes so much money from the Department of Education nationwide. They're crazy.
I don't know, though. I just feel like throughout the whole process of the election, it was fear-based on both sides. So really, if you only sit in that echo chamber, of course, you're going to be on the drastic or severe side of an issue. But again, like people said, we've been here before. It's not like we haven't been here before. So at this point, all we can really do is hold on and go for the ride.
Well, yeah, there's not, like, other choices. I mean, if people would like to start doing some, like, countrywide organizing, I'm all for it. But right now, all we have is, like, weird white women on TikTok buying blue bracelets, which is, like, a thing I only learned about today, and I don't really understand, but is a thing.
What's the thing? What does the blue bracelet
It is
mean?
that, like, white women are gonna wear these, like, blue friendship bracelets to signal to I think black women generally that they are not, like, the racist white people who voted for Trump, but they're the good white people. And you know that because they paid probably another white person for this beaded ass bracelet on Etsy or something. It's a very much a, like,
no, it's a virtue signaling. I don't
like the term virtue signaling. I think it gets way overused on the internet, but this is an actual example of virtue signaling in a really weird way that only white people really seem to crush at. I don't know why we do this so much.
Well, it's the whole reason.
It is there.
It's the whole reason Target, you know, came under fire for either having or not having their LGBTQ material, like, because all that is a virtue signal. Because at the end of the day, I come back to a massive company like that isn't going to specialize in something for 10% of people. It's not 10% because they think they can sell the message of, if you don't support these people, then you're evil, which is what, again, the liberal media has kind of driven into the culture at this point. And so, Cliff, I completely agree with you that it has been nothing but, you know, attack. And do I think Kamala tried to, you know, maintain that message of unity, etc.? Yeah, but it fell on deaf ears because the party and the administration that you were part of got us here. Now, do I firmly believe that Trump's mishandling of COVID and missteps throughout all of that started this off on a bottom trail? Yes. Do I think some of the restrictions that he rolled back prior to COVID impacted companies' ability to fucking gouge us during COVID and following COVID? Yes, I do. But the fact of the matter is, it is hard to fight a Trump deep state narrative when Kamala Harris was nominated for President of the United States by a shadow fucking committee in a back room with no semblance of democratic process.
All right.
Well, and she had no time.
Yeah.
Also, like most people running for president campaign for like 4 to 5 years minimum.
Right.
Trump hasn't really stopped campaigning since like 2014.
No.
Even when he's like in things. So like,
well,
and during the presidency, I don't know if it was like we don't trust this person or we disagree, but as vice president, she has either not gotten to or has chosen not to. I don't fucking know their situation. I feel like she has not been upfront.
She's been
on like the face of things.
I completely
so
agree.
She gets tied with all of the shitty parts of Biden's economy because she's in it, but she doesn't get the like, look at this infrastructure bill that's really good.
Well, that's
shit. So
that's,
like
again,
it was hard for people to give a fuck.
Right, and because like for the last 4 years she's been non-existent. Like outside of her debate with I don't even remember who Trump's VP pick was last time around. Like you haven't heard from her.
I forgot his name.
Yeah, right. But so
I was thinking I was going to surprise myself, and I can't remember.
No, because it wasn't Pence.
Something?
Because Pence was his VP that turned on him during the transfer of power.
No, you're right.
So I don't even remember who his VP pick was last time around. But yeah, I think that played a major role in it. Honestly, what they're trying to tee up is a Pete Buttigieg run in 28 because he has been visible for like the last 3 campaigns. And, you know, I think that he's actually it's going to suck for me to say this. I think he's a likable guy, and I think he's a relatable guy, and I think that he actually has connected with voters one-on-one in a bunch of different instances that, you know, I could see him being a future nom. That being said, all of this comes back to the fact that the DNC and RNC run this shit. Like the
I'm like the DNC sucks so bad all the time. I'm just so happy Trump can never run for president again. I would love to go to the voting booth without like the specter of an orange demon just floating above me. And I'm just going to keep pretending like we're going to do things as normal in 4 years because I'm not mentally prepared for the people who are like, well, it was nice having elections. I'm out.
Right.
I don't have time for this. I can't deal with this level of.
Well, and
there are like actual laws happening that I have to deal with. I can't deal with the fake ones yet.
And honestly, the best thing that could happen for this country would be for the DNC to splinter. And for
we need a new Labor Party badly.
Yeah.
I have to agree with that. It's hard to give a shit when I agree both sides do the fear-mongering situation. I do think that Republicans are a lot more successful at it because they are less concerned about the truth.
Right.
I'm sure that's not true for all Republicans. But like specifically, when you see like super PACs running an ad about Sherrod Brown transing your children's gender somehow at school,
right.
Like there are people who see those and do think that that is the truth. And like, oh, well, I can't let that happen. So we have to do this, which is like upsetting, but we also have no media literacy because our education system has been completely gutted for the last like 30 years. It's totally fine. So it's just like people are scared. And when you're afraid, because the way our country is set up, you fall to capitalism because we are told that money will save us. And we see it. Like it doesn't matter your gender, your race, whatever. If you're a rich person, you basically get to do whatever the fuck you want. So like I can't blame people for wanting that.
I want to know what you have to be so afraid of other than losing your house, car, job, etc.
Well, I don't have a lot because I am now in a state that is like, we are protecting trans people, yay. But I do like know adult people in real life who live in states, in Texas specifically, where they cannot get care. A woman, a 19-year-old, died in Texas like the beginning of this week because she was in sepsis because her baby died inside her, and no one in Texas was willing to give her an abortion because despite the fact that she was losing like organ function, they couldn't technically say she was for sure gonna die, which means they could have been like charged with murder under current Texas abortion law. So like there are real consequences to these policies that happen. People think you're like, you guys are being dramatic and this isn't a big deal. But like literally in the UK, they just changed it to where you have to be 25 before you're even allowed to put your name on a 10-year long at this moment waiting list to talk to a doctor about gender affirming care. So you can't even make the decision to have a conversation in several years until you're 25, which means that you have to hope somebody's like gender dysphoria issues are not so bad that they decide it is not worth it to be alive for that long without being who they are, and they're just going to be done. Like there are like real things happening that are really hurting people. So I get frustrated when people are like, well, don't be dramatic, it's not The Handmaid's Tale. And it's like, well, no, it's not. And also people are like, actively hurting from these things. And like,
and I'm not trying to, say that they're not or make light of the situation at all. I guess I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. But I would say the LGBTQ movement exploded out of that 2016 term with Obama.
2012.
Yeah, when they were like, oh, hey, we have marriage rights. Let's like keep fighting for other things.
Right, yes. Right. But that's really when it all hopped on the scene. And I don't mean to be, what's the word I'm trying to use? I'm not trying to like sound less when I ask the question, but what were they doing before that?
I thought it was interesting when 2016 might be the first time you heard about things happening. Stonewall in New York City, the giant riot that happened, was in 1969.
We talked about it on the show.
So like, this is not new. There were queer people like actively marching for Black queer rights as part of the civil rights movement.
So, like, I'm speaking more of the gender affirming care and all that.
Oh, it literally became a thing. So this may not even be real, honestly. This could be a fever dream I'm having. But I do remember reading an article, which is why I can't say if this is real, because like, did I read this or did I pattern recognize things? As soon as Republicans could no longer run on gay marriage and stopping it, they swiveled to like, oh, well, what's a group that we can still demonize? Is literally what happened. It's what they did with Native people in the 1900s. That's what they did with Black people forever and still, but specifically in the 1950s and 60s. And like, they just keep moving to new groups until that group gets more rights. And then they're okay, well, nobody cares about these trannies, so we're going to go kill them. Like, it is unfortunately...
Well, and the usual demon in that is immigration, right?
But what did they do before with gender affirming care prior to all
literally
of that?
Just let us exist. That's all. Which is all we still would like.
So like, I guess
were doing all the same things they're doing now, except they didn't have any legal protection. So nobody, like, if you fucked up somebody's pronouns on purpose to be an asshole, nobody could call HR about it because it's not protected. So like, I think that is the big change, is like, there's more of us, and also, hey, what if you fucking didn't treat us like shit? Has happened more, but
I guess my question then becomes, what would increase the numbers of like depressive suicides because of lack of care, other than the prescription pills and everything that's been making everybody more extreme with their emotions.
Well, the actual opposite is true. So, like, the pills and things you're talking about are help with the suicidal ideation and all those things. They like fix that problem. Because the problem is the gender dysphoria that is like everything about my body is wrong and feels wrong, and half the world is constantly trying to tell me that I'm wrong for knowing that something is wrong and wanting to fix it. And there's the fun and excitement of like when I was in high school, I got to debate with people whether or not I was deserved marriage rights, because that's the time that we were in. So now you also have trans teenagers, probably the only like trans teenagers that they know, if they're even out, having to have fun classroom debates about whether or not they should get to piss and like in public and play sports and do all of these things. Like being a group of people that people constantly tell are going to hell and that like they want you to not exist. And when like the vice presidential candidate says that transgenderism is a scourge that must be burned from the earth, there's not like, it's not like a fun time.
Right. But
so you don't have community around you.
That's also the old guard. But I would argue that you have more community now that the movement has taken off so much and certain places have made it more acceptable than you did prior when you had less gender affirming care. You see what I'm saying?
Well, part of it is that a lot of people, when there was less gender affirming care, there were less options.
Right.
So it was much less likely for people to be trans unless they could completely pass. Like nobody can know that they're trans until they get to that point. Right. They're not talking about it. And most people would like literally move. Like the term dead name came from like the idea of almost like,
you fake your own
I am killing my old self and I have to like basically fake my death and run away to be who I am where people don't know me. And so the only reason that anybody gives a shit now, we've had gender affirming care for a long time. And by the way, I should note that cis kids take puberty blockers and nobody's trying to stop them. That's how you know it's not actually about it being harmful in any way, because nobody is saying that cis kids who need puberty blockers shouldn't have them. They're specifically saying if your kid wants puberty blockers because they are trans, they cannot have them. But if you go and are like, oh, I think my son has low testosterone, he can get testosterone injections with no issue, not even like questions asked, probably a blood test to make sure that you're like accurate.
Right.
But I also have to take a blood test to take my testosterone. So that's pretty normal. So like that is, I think that if I thought they actually gave a shit about any children in any way, it would bother me once again a lot less. But everything, I say them, what I mean is like the large establishment of people trying to make decisions. But then that gets filtered down through Fox News and all those things. And it becomes, I have an aunt who I adore and is a very intelligent person. And I had to explain to her at dinner that there were not litter boxes in classrooms so that kids who identified as cats could pee, because she truly in her soul believed that, because her friend Barbara told her. And why would Barbara lie? Right. And I'm sure that Barbara's nephew did tell Barbara that as a joke, but they're old and don't fucking know what's happening and literally just think it's true.
Right.
So then like you have like all of these things that aren't true being fed to people who are just assuming they are. Right. Which just breeds like weird.
Which is the whole they're eating the dogs and they're eating the cats in Springfield thing. Like
you're gonna have that, and you're gonna have that because you've chosen to make yourselves more visible, rightfully so. But it's no different than for anybody out there. There's a difference, but to the analogy, it's no different than the civil rights movement. You can be black in America, but once you want to be black and have rights, it's a active war on you now. So you're in no different of a situation. You've chosen to be more visible. We want more rights in the country. Now there's going to be active war. And until that old guard dies off that thinks that way, it's gonna be a rough go.
The problem.
Yeah, and also I get to say fuck that. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think the people in the civil rights movement were like, well, you're right, we wanted rights. We did deserve you to hit us with those fire hoses and
No,
dogs.
it's not about
Like-
deserving it. It's not about deserving it. It's about the top of the food chain hasn't changed since. So why would you expect any different?
I think the issue that and this was my fear with a Trump presidency, just as it was when he was elected in 2016, is that the hate that it emboldens, at least in the short term. So,
Right.
like in 2016, my son was at a Jewish preschool, and they had bomb threats called in 4 or 5 times after Trump was elected. Hadn't had one in 15 years, but had 4 or 5 in the first 6 months of Trump coming into power. I also think that we have an epidemic in this country of young white men being radicalized by these types of sources and being emboldened. And I cannot wait until the first time I run into this, because it will be part of the fuck around and find out generation talk. Because you are seeing these 18 to 20 somethings that think they can get in someone's face without any consequences. And I even saw it today at Turkey Hill. I saw this dude coming in screaming about something, yada, yada, yada. And I just looked at him, I'm like, and, the white manager at Turkey Hill was handling it. But it was like, this is the kind of shit that re-emboldening these people will lead to acts of domestic terror again. And that, to me, is the bigger concern. Because I'm with you, Cliff, because I think as we continue to age, you will see some of that old guard, the older mentality start to die out. The problem is if they're basically reloading the block with the radicalization.
Yeah, I do think, I should say, I'm not in any way surprised by any of the things that are happening to trans people. But the idea that, what else am I supposed to do about it other than bitch? I vote for who I hope doesn't suck. And I give money when I can to funds and help when I can. But otherwise, all I can do is be like, hey, did you guys know this fucking sucks?
Right.
Because a lot of straight and cis people and gay cis people, honestly, are also shitty. Just have either no idea at all. So it's not shittiness on purpose. It's just like, oh, I didn't know these things were happening because apparently I don't know any trans people. Or a sense of, oh, well, you're probably being dramatic. Or I know you think that was transphobic, but I know Jim, and Jim wouldn't say something transphobic. So I think you misunderstood.
Well, it's the same.
I feel like we're in that era of the okay,
you're in the,
it's fine. And yeah, this is happening, but could you just please don't ruin my lunch with it. Thank you.
The trans community is in the, that wasn't racist, that's just how he talks era.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't play that they were from a different time card with any other discrimination, so it's not going to work for me either.
No, and I think
you can't say, well, yeah, they were racist, they're from the 50s, as though there weren't people trying to fight racism in the 50s. What the fuck? That's not an excuse to be a piece of shit.
Yeah.
You were also here every year after the 50s, where you learned that was not a thing you should get to say out loud anymore. So, don't get mad at me because you didn't fucking learn shit from the passage of time. That is not my problem. We live in the age of Google. There's so many options. The number of times on Reddit posts I've literally put, hey, if you have questions about this, you are welcome to DM me. I'm a trans person. If you're coming to me with good faith questions, I'm not going to get upset. This is totally fine, but I'm not going to argue with you in the comment section because I don't think that's useful. Because it's always on a post that has nothing to do with transness that people do that.
Yeah.
And so I'm okay, if you have questions, not a single time has anyone ever messaged me to ask a question, but you better believe that comment kept getting downvotes and a whole bunch of transphobic comments on it.
Well, and on top of that, that,
there's only so much I can do.
Yeah. And I do want to kind of move us on from this and get into other issues with this election. That being said, it is coming back to the fact that hate groups are emboldened right now, and they will be. But at the end of the day, Democrats were going to struggle to stay in power during an economic crisis. Period. And had Trump been in power, I think the exact same thing would have happened. Had the Republicans been in control for the last 4 years with the same results, you would have seen a blue wave instead of a red wave. The biggest thing in this election was 20 million less people voted.
Yeah, the apathy was real and fair, honestly.
Right.
If you know neither group's going to do a damn thing for you.
Right.
Like, I get frustrated with people who chose not to vote, but I'll take that over voting for Trump any day.
Vote. I don't give a fuck about.
I know so many. Well, that's
about it.
I'm like, I wish people would, and I would be less upset if like everybody voted and my side still lost. I think would bother me more, or would bother me a lot less, because I'm just like, man, I do feel like if everybody just got a list of issues,
right,
and we got to vote on like a agree, disagree, sliding scale situation, there are probably more people further to the left than they think. And also, I'm that bitch who goes in and is like, I don't know who these people are, but they're Dems, so I guess I'm voting for them, which is just as bad as doing the same thing for Republicans.
Right.
Like, it's the two-party system.
My favorite thing is
such garbage.
Is when there are actual issues on the ballot. Like, I will always vote for a public transportation ballot issue or levy, and I've not ridden fucking public transportation in 50 years or 10 years.
Speaking of ballot issues, what the fuck was up with y'all on issue 1?
Yeah, no doubt. That was the one that I was, honestly, that hurt me more than the presidential. That? So issue 1 was to establish a citizen-based commission.
I love you so much, Cliff.
Establish what?
A citizens commission to draw our districts instead of the gerrymandered shit that has been rejected a dozen times in the last 7 years that politicians keep trying to draw up. So right now, by our own constitution, Ohio's districts, congressional districts, are illegal. They don't meet the standard that has been established. But because it is a Republican-controlled Senate or state Senate and state House, they keep drawing these maps that are illegal, and we have to continue using old ones, or I honestly don't know. Like, if we're still using old ones or we're using the illegal ones, despite the fact that they're unconstitutional. Like, that to me is the definition of the game is rigged.
Like, I don't know if I fell asleep during that Schoolhouse Rock episode or
so
there
what
should be a gerrymandering Schoolhouse Rock, but I don't think there was, unfortunately.
I actually think somebody did one that was in the tone of Schoolhouse Rock after the fact. But basically what it means, Cliff, is that they draw the districts in such a way so that a certain party always wins. So meaning, like, if, let's say, this sliver is equal part Democratic and Republican, they will draw it, like, just past the halfway point so that the Republican candidate gets elected, which is basically what happens to Ohio, is Columbus gets split up, and the big metropolitan areas get split up and put with more rural areas, so that the rural areas outnumber the sliver that comes out of the big metropolitan area. So Ohio looks redder than it really is, because if you look at you saw it in the presidential election. You saw big blue dots in Cleveland, Columbus, and actually I think Cincinnati might have gone Trump, but they're down south, so we don't count them. That's basically Kentucky at that point. So, but again, it's just another way the system's rigged for our votes not to matter.
But do they anyway?
Also, a fair comment.
Like,
such a fair question.
No, because at the end of the day,
I don't even mean that from a standpoint of like. I mean, even when you elect the person that you're wanting to elect, does it really matter?
No, because at the end of the day, it's all driven by dark money.
Right. Like, it doesn't
local
matter.
Elections do matter.
We had those discussions, but like from a presidential level, and that's why it just drives me crazy when people will get frustrated with people that don't vote. You goddamn right. Why would I waste my gas or my time standing in y'all's line if it doesn't fucking matter either way? Both of y'all
My
are getting
answer
bought
to
out
that
by
is-
different corporations, and that's who's running the shit.
They're actually
Passing you down rules and laws to get passed. So why does it matter who what?
So it's funny you bring that up in particular. Trump and his campaign, number of funding by small regional banks, the DNC, Bank of America, Chase, like the same companies that are fucking us over are supporting the quote unquote liberal agenda. It's all bullshit, man. It is.
All right.
Like that's only including the stuff that wasn't dark money that has been disclosed. We can't even tell you the shit that's happening that hasn't been disclosed.
And I guess that's what's so frustrating to me is watching the two sides argue over what is what when it's like y'all motherfuckers have more common ground and you have reasons to be arguing with each other.
Oh, no doubt.
And they're going to continue doing this red and blue shit until they can slip out the back door with everybody's shit. Like until motherfuckers stop saying this lib or this fucking Republican and start being like, oh, you upset that these motherfuckers is taking... Yeah, okay.
Right.
Then let's mount up and ride. What the fuck? Like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing?
I do agree that I'm like, oh no, if I found a Republican who was like, actually, this is all trash and we should just not.
But see, that's the thing.
I might vote for things, like, even though they're Republican, because I'd be like, we can all agree that the government sucks and is just like honestly, stealing all of our money all the time.
That's why Trump won. Like, that was his message. Despite the fact that he's
not wrong. I just don't think he's going to do better.
Right. Despite the fact that he's partnered with fucking Elon Musk, who is part of the alien
Elon
race
Musk
that actually runs the world.
Also.
But by the way,
I want to know what's under his skin too, though. I'm not going to lie, Joe.
Maddie chiming in with both Cincy and Dayton were overwhelmingly blue. So there you go.
That's
I was
so
wrong.
Upsetting. Oh, no, that's good. Blue. Overwhelming. Okay, I'm like, wait, what? No. Okay, good.
And shout out to Maddie. Maddie was invited onto the show this evening and opted not to join, but Maddie,
I don't want to yell about trans things. No, thank you. Which is so reasonable. I, unfortunately, have not yet found my community up here, so I am excited to yell about trans people because I do not have enough trans people here to yell about them.
I'm not going to lie, though. My favorite part about the election when the Republicans win is watching the Democrats whine about it because it gives me it's like, I know most of y'all aren't fans of sports, so this is like being a Raiders fan and taking an L. You now get to feel what we feel on a regular basis, and you're flipping out about it. We just gotta wait till next Sunday.
It's funny. It's funny you bring that up because as a Bills fan, I think that's what prepped me for both of Trump's wins.
You hear what I'm saying?
You're just prepared for the disappointment.
Right. I'm just used to being disappointed. I do
wish that I consider myself a leftist, but like the left side of the world, whatever, add some more balls.
Oh, yeah.
Because like, I don't think it's okay to do an insurrection. And also, I kind of want people who give enough shits to do an insurrection.
I mean, but like, I'm all for the insurrections. Into it. I'm all for the insurrections, but let's do it for the right people. We need it for a reason, like not just.
We need a class war, if I'm being perfectly honest. Make love and also class war.
Which is
why. See, that's the thing. We talk about that too. You'll never get to the people that implement those rules to keep you that low. So until you insurrect against the people that are in charge of rounding up and keeping the people together, you're not going to get their attention enough to think about changing policies for anybody.
Right.
Which is, again, why I'm all for insurrection. But I don't give a fuck if it's because you backed your red president or you wished your blue. Both y'all fuck yourselves. For real. Both y'all fuck yourselves.
That's so fair. Because, like, I do want a nice little happy socialist utopia that's never going to exist. But like in that utopia, I do need to work next to somebody who like maybe was a cop, and we still have to make our community work because that's how it works. So like if I'm going to be for community and mutual aid, that also unfortunately means people who I think should die. Like I do still need to treat them with humanity and respect because that is what I ask for. So like it is tricky, and also I'm like, if we could just pick like 4 things that we all want some health care. Like there are some people against universal health care, but I feel like most people generally are like, it would be good if this sucked less. So like we could we have all of us are poor and things cost too much. So like we can eat the rich, we can get everybody health care. Let's make all drugs that are not fun free and make fun drugs cheaper and keep you out of prison. And like there's some things that I feel like we could really come together.
Well,
on.
and it's interesting, like even on the marijuana and an abortion rights perspective, the majority of states that had those issues up for ballot passed or required a supermajority that kept them from passing. So I would argue that the majority of the country actually does support. And
I think so.
No offense, but when it comes to like abortion rights, women all leave those states. You're not going to have a state left.
Unless they're the ones who die because they can't. That's part of the issue is that I shouldn't say Republicans, people who have money and vote pro-life know that they will never not have access to abortion.
Absolutely.
The people they're taking abortions from are poor people. And like almost always people who like they will then complain about continuously having children so that they can complain about welfare, because that is also something to run on.
Right. Well,
it's wild.
It's interesting.
It's all wild.
It's interesting because I was giving it some thought, and I was like, all right, so it was something like what, 54% or 60% of white men voted Trump. I'm like, all right, so what are these guys that look like me? What's different? Well, one, I'm educated, which is only like 30% of the country in terms of college education. 2, I'm in a top 15% bracket. Like, so I think I look at it from the perspective
bragging
of,
over here, fine.
No, but what I mean is like I can support the rights of others because I'm doing okay. Like, I hate to say it, like, yes, the economy is hurting everybody right now. I'm not making what I want to be making or what I was previously making, but at the same time, I ain't hurting. So, like, I think when you're voting from a place of security, it's different than voting from a place of insecurity in general. And so, like...
That makes sense.
I again, trying to see the other side, and, again, I think that the media did a disservice to the nation by attacking Trump the way they did versus focusing in on actual policies that were coming out of his mouth. Now, understanding the shadow agenda of Project 2025, which, you know, I still have...
He has a concept of plans, Mike. Don't sell him short.
Well,
he has so many concepts of so many plans.
He does, but it was more than Kamala was coming to the table with. Like, what'd Kamala say in her last, like, month? I'm going to make groceries cheaper and not allow them to gouge you at the... That was all she fucking said.
And it's like, great, but how?
Right.
And, like, why isn't that... There's a lot of...
Why aren't you doing it now?
There was not enough policy discussion at all. And I saw somebody say online was like, part of the problem was making, like, somebody was like, honestly, a slogan change would have fixed it a lot too. Instead of like, I'm with her, have it be like, she's with us. Like, she actually does give a shit, which I don't think is true. But if we're going to lie to people anyway, like, do the damn thing.
What did Joe Biden stumble on?
Right.
Well, like, what was his policies that he brought?
Yeah, but he's a white man, so he doesn't need to have good anything. He just needs to stand there.
I think that's the issue that people had with Kamala, is when you're going on the views and the stuff like that, saying that you wouldn't do anything different. Like, it's like, well, what the fuck are you saying?
Yeah,
he didn't know what the fuck he was doing. He doesn't know what he's doing. We need answers. And you think he's doing fine. What, making it to the bathroom by himself? Like, what are we talking about? What are we talking about here? And the fact that you don't have the labia to be like, this nigga's fucking up, I'm coming in to fix it.
Well, and
That's why you lost.
That was her biggest problem, I think, was not distancing herself from Biden.
Because we already the reason that she was there is because we all were like, we don't want to vote for him. This sucks. We don't want this again.
Right.
So to come in and be like, hey, I know you all were like, we don't want to vote for this guy. I'm telling you, I'm exactly the same. Is like maybe not the best choice.
You hear
to
me?
make.
Right.
You're so right.
No, that's absolutely right. And I think that I think from my standpoint, that was the biggest misstep by the Democrats in the whole election. Was one, the shadow election of Kamala. Like, you needed to go outside of this administration because, let's face it, Biden didn't sweepingly beat Trump. He had a narrow margin of victory. So the only way that you get past that is, one, voter turnout, which I don't think they did enough of, and two, you got to distance yourself from it and give not even a radical candidate, but give a different candidate. And, you know, is that hard to do in the amount of time that they left her? Yeah, but honestly, a lot of the failure of the party comes down to Joe and Joe deciding to run again versus making it a one-term thing, which was all he was supposed to be. He was supposed to hand the torch, and he didn't. He tried to Kamala after he was forced to, but again, that was all back office, back room, shadow organizations that nominated her. So, you know, if he really wanted to do something, when he dropped out of the race, resign and make her the president.
All right.
I have seen a lot of things that are like, I need Joe to resign so Kamala becomes
47 and
47 so that Trump has to get rid of all the like gear they've already purchased.
Yep, and then it's 48.
Say like 47 president.
That would be
and
the
I'm
most
like, that
petty
is the kind of petty I can't appreciate, honestly.
Yes. That level of pettiness would be fucking amazing.
I am team make their pockets hurt. Like, if money is the only thing that anybody cares about, I'm gonna waste a whole bunch of years for fun. Like, okay.
All right, so chiming in with the chat, we got Maddie out there. The line between true right libertarianism and leftist anarchy is pretty thin, and so as long as you're actually principled, I can vibe with you. The Dems' problem is that they had an option to push left and opted to back the status quo, and shocker, no one's happy with the way things are.
All right.
Which I think is
I agree 100%.
Kind of the continuing message on this.
I'm not a libertarian fan, I will say. I literally have a bumper sticker on my car that says, my political ideals are too nuanced to fit on a bumper sticker, but I can say that libertarians can eat my entire ass. And it is solely because of the privatization of everything.
Yeah.
Like, I agree that the government does suck, and also I like streets. And when firefighters come to my home, and I don't want to have the like, well, you didn't pay your firefighter fee this week, so the sorry your house is on fire, fuck off. Like, that part of libertarianism, I can't fuck with. I do want there to be like libraries and schools and shit. So I can't go all in on the libertarianism. But I do like that they're like, leave me the fuck alone and I'll leave you alone. I'm team that for sure.
No doubt. That's part of the compound. We're just making sure everybody has a job.
Yeah, I just do the thing I asked you to do, give money for things that we need as a society, and leave me alone while treating me with respect when we are required to interact.
Wouldn't that be
all I want from the world?
An amazing tax system for like if you're gonna keep federal income tax, which I think they should get rid of federal income tax and tax the businesses personally. But
businesses, only people.
If you were given the option of, hey, here's a list of 100 things, and you can choose where your taxes go. You have to pay taxes. You have to pay taxes regardless, but you get to choose where they go and where they support.
And I would love that because I was a lot less angry about paying taxes when they were not going to bomb starving children. Right. Like, I was like, okay, well, I don't love this, but I like paved roads. I like firefighters. I like libraries. All of these things are run by taxes. I was literally a school teacher, so I was paid with taxes. So, like, yay, we love a tax in this socialist house when it goes to things that we need for society. Like, let's get some homeless people homes. Hell yeah. I would be so down to pay so much more in taxes if I could choose where my money went.
And
To be
My
honest.
nigga, I would have 8 fire extinguishers and call it a fucking day. You hear what I'm
And
saying?
that's fine for you.
I'm
That's
the
just
kind
not
of
how I wanna be.
motherfucker that cuts the insurance when November comes around. I don't need that. Fuck that.
Hey, that's fine.
I don't give a
Insurance, the way we
fuck.
currently have it, is a scam. So,
Oh,
like,
it
fair
definitely
enough.
is. Like, there are insurance companies kicking people off of policies right now. In California, most interestingly, but that in states where it's required to drive. Like, what do you do when insurance is a private business that you're required to have in order to own a vehicle and operate a vehicle, but the insurance companies are firing customers left and right and hiking rates exorbitant amounts? Like, that
They're
right there
right
is part
without
of the
it.
fucking problem.
Like Florida, those places where insurance companies are just dropping people like, oh, I'm so sorry you lost your entire house and have nothing. You also don't have any money from us. We're actually just going to have you, even though you've paid us on time every month our whole time. Nah, fuck off. Like, we can't do that.
I mean, even my shit last year, I had $8,000 worth of damage from a plumbing issue. They gave me $1,500. Like, get the fuck out of here, man.
Say, I had somebody try and fail to hotwire my car, which was the funny part. It would have been so much easier on me if they would have
If
actually
they would have stolen the
fucking
car.
stolen it. But they didn't. Instead, they just broke a window and fucked the whole dashboard situation up, trying and failing to hotwire it, despite us living on a very busy road where they definitely would not have had time to do that until with the cars coming. And it costs, I had to pay $1,000 because that's my deductible. And I was like, okay, this is kind of worth it because the actual total was like $3,000. So like, I'm glad I didn't have to pay $3,000.
Right.
But how much money have I given you every single month for the last 3 years?
Right.
Probably more than $3,000.
Yep.
Now, granted, I don't fucking have $3,000, but I do have the like $100 I throw to Allstate every month.
Right.
So like, fair enough. But it's just, I need to know how we can have a burn it all down, everything is terrible, capitalism is awful
What's
thing
gonna happen
without
is the
all of the
aliens.
people that will then not have anything because they need these systems to stay alive. Like, there's
What's
no way to
gonna
do that,
happen is
but I wish there was.
we're gonna turn into the Taliban, but like the opposite style. Like where they used to have the young kids wearing the bomb vests and running into places blowing shit up. You're gonna see millennials that are gonna be turning 75, 80, going out with a bang on some bullshit.
Honestly, it's kind of a vibe. Like, as somebody who has major depressive disorder and like regularly would like to not be alive, like, it is fine, y'all. I am medicated.
Like leave
But,
the
like,
schools alone.
If I'm doing it at this point, when I was younger, all of my like, ethereal, maybe one day plans involved like the least amount of harm as possible. I don't want any family members finding me. I'm not trying to ruin anybody's day. How can I do this? Now I'm like, man, if I kill myself, I'm gonna fuck it up. Like,
Right.
I'm taking
Burn
out
it
a
down
bank with me or some shit. Like, I'm gonna find the servers that have student loans on them and blow all of us up together. Like,
that old
might as
lady
well
was,
make it count.
that old lady was robbing banks to pay her cancer shit.
Right.
Yeah. Which she wouldn't have to do, by the way, if we had universal fucking healthcare.
So all I'm saying is, since we don't, rob your banks to pay for your cancer shit. If you got enough strength to go through chemo and radiation and throw on a wig, which she probably already had the wig, but and rob a bank,
No,
you
you're right.
deserve that cash. Somebody
Yeah.
should have filled that bag up for her.
And kept their mouth shut, honestly.
You hear me?
Right.
It should have been a if you see somebody stealing baby formula, no, you don't situation, to be honest. Like, that's what should have happened. It's like, oh no, where did this money go? Weird.
Whoops.
That's
It's like that shit is insured. It's not
that's
hurting
like
anyone
some-
to take it.
some anti-hero shit. Like you need to make a movie about her.
Right.
Just say the reason
Like,
they
she's a
always have
legend.
villains in Batman movies make some like crazy, wild, psychotic turn right at the end is that up until then, they're right all the time. They're always the correct one for the first 3/4 of the movie, and then they have to do something like totally awful and insane, like put a bomb on a bus full of children for you to be like, they are a villain, I guess.
And that's what's crazy is back in the 80s, you was making a world full of Supermans, and now you're making a world full of Lex Luthers.
Right.
I think that they're making a bunch of us into Joker, to be honest. But the musical one that nobody saw. Like, no power, nothing useful, just like sad and singing for some reason. I feel like this is what's happening.
Motherfuckers being that, they being that. They being that long before 2020 took place. That's crazy. I'm trying to tell you, listen, I don't know where else you plan on going, but sometimes you just gotta let the record play.
I can't even, there's a bunch of people who talk about immigrants in horrible ways, but then they think it's gonna be really easy for them to immediately immigrate to a country that's not America, like anybody fucking wants our asses anyway.
Right.
Which like is not even a choice for me because I have a developmental disability diagnosis with my ADHD, so I'm technically disabled, and people do not take disabled immigrants like anywhere. Countries are like, nah, bitch, we need like our Adderall. You cannot have it.
Cliff could go to Japan right now and repopulate the nations.
Well, I can't help with that. That is, I'm real glad I got my uterus out before.
Learn from the ones at the southern border and don't bring your papers with you. They don't know what kind of disorders you got. You can share the Adderall, I suppose. I don't know.
I feel like if I went to Canada and just like started living there, I could probably make it a little bit before anybody would notice. Not like a long time, but there's some parts of Canada that are just, I could just drive to. Like, they're not even like manned border stations. It's just like a fucking dirt road in the woods that you're like, I'm in Canada now. So like,
Scotland will
probably if I needed
Scotland will pay you to come live on their islands and fix up, 100-year-old houses for $95,000 they'll give you.
You said who?
Scotland.
To say Ireland is doing something like that too. My For You page has been people freaking out about the election, people talking about why we can't freak out about the election, and Ireland just trying to sell me land in like the coldest, most desolate parts of Ireland that have no humans there for a fucking reason.
Right,
they're like borderline inhabitable. They're like,
listen,
okay,
they try to get over it.
You hate America this much. Would you like these sheep on a mount? And every time I'm like, I know I wouldn't. I love Target too much. Like, I am a consumer. Capitalism did make me. I cannot go live out in the middle of nothing. I need the internet to function. But like, also,
Scotland
offering
work, Ireland offering land, Sweden offering peace, and Japan offering pussy. Ain't that some shit? Ain't that some shit? We are. Where are we at right now?
Well, and then you have South Korea, where the 4B movement started, that is now taking over U.S. TikTok.
I have to say, the 4B movement has been all over TikTok as well.
What's 4B?
So it comes from South Korea, and it's because the words in Korean start with the letter B, but it's basically women who are saying they're not dating, they're not putting out, they're not doing X, they're not doing Y for men in general anymore, based on the results of the election.
Yes. Okay.
Which, like, I don't know who, once again, I know not everybody feels this way, but to me, your politics are, like, very much your values.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't necessarily have to I don't have to like your values and you don't have to like mine, that's fine. But, like, if your money is the most important thing to you, that's not who I am as a person. And that's fine if that is who you are, but I'm not. Been poor, started poor, probably going to stay poor, and going to keep giving money away to people who need it every time I have it, because that is how I was raised.
That's how I stay poor.
The Jesus part did not stick, but all of the, like, early church put shit in the middle, take as you need shit did somehow. So, like, for me, who would be sleeping with motherfuckers who would be voting for Trump anyway? Like, I literally on my kink hard limit list is conservatives. Like, no. I might be a whore, but not for your ass. Are you kidding? No. Can't do it. And like, we'll continue not to do it. You cannot vote away my rights and then get your dick sucked. It's not happening. Despite the fact that
I mean, I would probably be safer though. Out of the you didn't necessarily have to, you know, flee the state. Nobody's gonna scoop your throat, is what I. No, I'm just playing.
honestly, who knows?
That was actually
Who knows?
another note that I had written down. So the one, I think the 4B movement, fine. It's an entertaining TikTok trend at the moment. I think at the end of the day, it actually has the wrong effect, and I think that it continues to alienate two sides. But obviously, your choice. And, you know, I'm not saying sleep with somebody who you don't share values with, so I agree with you on that front, Sam. But
I mean, sleep with whoever you want. Shit.
right.
I'm just saying, for me, that's a no.
I think it's interesting to see the 4B versus the trad wife phenomenon on
What's
TikTok.
that?
Oh, traditional wives. The women that
Okay,
wanna be
my
at
idea
home.
of trad wives are women who think they want to go back to the 1950s, but really what they want is to not have to fucking work 40 hours a week. Which, like, I agree. I also
Yeah,
don't
they
like
want
working 40 hours
Never
a
mind.
week. I do not want to go home and have your like 15 kids and bake bread about it, but I also would love to not work 40 hours.
Man, you can't do that anyway. Like, unless you can't do that anyway. The way they've set it up, in the way women have, like, they like, I don't know how to phrase it without sounding absolutely crazy, but the movement has pushed them to go wild, be free, do what you want. So for a man to then expect you to keep the house, like, you're gonna find hella people coming home early, because I know you ain't about to be sneaking no niggas in my house while I'm at work, because you don't have a job to go to yourself.
I think that the trad wife thing is also tied pretty deeply to like a lot of religious stuff. So I think that those people are really like, I have a good, submissive, godly wife who would
Okay.
never dare. Like, I don't think that would be the concern. I don't know how anybody can afford it. Like, maybe it is like a rich people trend. I've literally only seen people reacting to it. So all the clips I've seen have obviously been like tailored for me to go, bitch, what?
The only way
'Cause,
that
like-
you will ever, the only way you will ever see me married again is a trad
it's a
wife,
trad
a
wife.
trad wife half my age. That is the only way you'll ever see me get married.
You know what?
again.
And if you know that, and she knows that, and you're both so happy with that situation, more power to you. But it is, I think, not correct for these women to be like, oh, I am a trad wife, and it's so great, and here's why. And all they do is be like, this is what I do all afternoon, and it's literally them baking bread. And I'm like, okay, but like, in the interview that you just did on the other TikTok, you talked about how you
Right.
don't like baking bread, but your husband doesn't want store-bought bread, so you make bread every single week. Like, bitch, what are you talking about? That's not fun. You just have a job with no Christmas bonuses. Not a chance. Just like, no, why would you? And probably a
You don't know what
mediocre-ass man
bonuses she
is
get.
your reward. Like,
She may get bonuses. She may
Doing
get
all
quarterly
that?
bonuses.
still have sex with a maybe they're great. I don't know. It just is so outside of my realm of, I would not want to be with a person who wanted to be with a trad wife, I think is what it is.
I think that's fair.
I think it's fine if that's your vibe once again, but it's not mine. So the idea of just like, oh my God, I wouldn't want to be that person's partner even. Because
Well,
I wouldn't want
and like I said,
to like
that's-
have those expectations
like I
laid
said,
out at all.
For me, that's the only way you get me back to monogamy. I have no interest in going back to monogamy. That,
I prefer just polyamory, and we both do all the things.
right? Anything you want.
We both do the cleaning and the cooking and the fucking of other people, and it's fine.
So Maddie hitting the chat with a couple of good ones here. So I'm pretty sure the 4B movement started with Aristophanes and Lysistrata, which is
Who's that?
that's got to be ancient Greece, right? And then trad wife.
I do believe
not
so,
a,
yes.
Trad wife, not a free use kink.
Yeah. Yeah, that's free use kink. I can get down to clown. We can set up safe words. Hell yeah. There's not a way to do that if it's just like, bitch, why didn't you make me dinner while you were home taking care of the 6 kids I made you have?
Right.
Like,
But I mean, that's what I'm saying though. Like, I feel like it all comes down to Fox News and CNN.
Say more.
Like, unless you are experiencing it, you don't know how it's going.
yeah, that's true.
That's fair.
And I feel like that was the norm for a lot longer than this has been the norm.
Well, no, because what they've done is, and this all comes back to...
I honestly think the drug epidemic is what broke up families. Drugs, and then all the other laws that you put in place and stuff started breaking up families, and then you started pushing feminism and all that, and then there was no what do you call it?
Feminism.
Nuclear.
You damn women
family.
Wanted to vote, and it ruined it for the rest of us.
No, because there's
I know that's not
different-
what you mean,
right,
which is
there's
why
two
I'm making
different
that
kinds.
joke, just to be
There's
clear.
2 different kinds, and I don't mean it's the perversion of feminism. It's not the feminism itself.
No, it's the capitalization of feminism.
That goes
Because
along
women-
with
The
women-
girl boss vibes
Yeah,
are...
women fought to get into the workforce, and so now the only way you can afford a family is to have 2 people working, which keeps them out of the home and raising children.
And I think keeps everybody out of the home.
Right.
I don't think there's anything
Absolutely.
wrong with like wanting to do the trad wife thing. I think the issue is that it's trad wife instead of trad spouse, honestly.
Right.
If you want to go be a stay-at-home, whatever the fuck, live your life, live your truth. But when there's like so much weird patriarchy just baked into society anyway, which is also so fucking harmful for men in so many ways, and that like leads to this weird situation where it doesn't, and you know, once again, if they're happy in the weird situation, whatever. It's just all the things that they're like, this is me being so happy, look like somebody is holding a gun at them behind the camera.
Right,
And I'm just like, am I just fully projecting because I would hate this? Maybe they are having the time of their life. Like, I don't want to be like, you're a liar. Maybe that is their exact shit. I just can't like fathom it.
It
as a
wouldn't be
choice.
trad
You should get to make
spouse. It wouldn't be trad spouse because that's the issue, is that the men have always done what the men have done. They remain traditional until that perversion of feminism that we were talking about.
I like to call it the capitalization of feminism.
I need to know why you think that men staying at home would be a perversion of feminism.
No, that's not what.
I don't think that's what he's saying. Yeah,
I misunderstood. That's why I was like,
no.
I don't think that I'm understanding this correctly. Keep
No.
going. I apologize.
Yeah, no, that's not what I was saying at all. I was saying traditionally, men have always been working providers. That's what the expectation has been set for, and that's what it has been for, again, a lot longer than this whole thing has been going on. So when you, like Mike says, start bringing in the capitalists, start coercing the women into the workplace, and what was the other one that I was just... Oh, that's what we were just talking about, that whole be free movement. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of those men that were working all those time were expecting that there would be a few women to pick from that would be more of the traditional caliber. But if everybody's working and everybody's free and I'm still traditionally in my role, there's no one left for that guy. You get what I'm saying?
Well, and actually, that's a great point, because this was another set of statistics that I looked up with regards to this conversation, is that the continued erosion and the reason why Trump was able to go after young white male voters in particular was 1 out of 3 young men under the age of 30 has a girlfriend. 2/3 of women under the age of 30 have a boyfriend, but they are also dating outside of their age range because they want a man who is more emotionally stable, more financially established, yada, yada, yada. And so what it has done has created this vacuum of young white males that goes back to my radicalization comment that don't have that structure to kind of lean into, nor do they have the ability to financially support themselves because 1 out of 5 of them is living at home with their parents until the age of 30. Like, that's the erosion of the American dream in a microcosm of that particular demographic, but it's indicative of the struggle that everyone's facing. And so I think that when you're talking about this and the capitalization of feminism and the erosion of traditional values, which I don't necessarily agree with at all, but because I always had, my mom worked, right? Like she was the breadwinner for the most part. Like, when you start to lose those things and you don't create that family unit, what you're left with is isolation, and isolation leads to radicalization. And because of where we're at as a society right now, we don't have the community. Like, there's this false narrative of community, and where they find community is the deepest, darkest corners of the internet versus finding community through friends, through relationships, through whatever else.
Right.
And so I do think those two things are tied.
I think that
go ahead.
Relating, like, I do agree that there's a huge problem with radicalization of 20-year-olds, and if we're tying it together to like this idea of tradition, I think the problem, and yeah, trad spouse would not be the correct wording because it wouldn't be traditional. Right. But I think the problem is that men get this narrative of what they have to be, and women used to too, and trust me, they definitely still do. But I think there's a lot more like movement to have women have more choices, and nothing has been done to let men feel more comfortable having more choices.
I think young
women
men
are like, I'm free, and men are like, where's my structure? I was promised that somebody would be at home making me dinner because I had a hard day, and nobody did.
Young men
and like,
are still
I do think isolation is a problem, but when I hear men talk about it, what they talk about is that they cannot find a woman who will like stay home and be a traditional wife for them. I'm like, hey, maybe, because people don't necessarily want that. And if you want it, that's fine, but that might mean that you're fucking by yourself.
Well, and that also comes back to
like,
that also
you
comes
can't
back
force
to
people to do it.
That also comes back to young men being taught what they should provide and women being taught what they deserve. And that is the shift. That's the shift over the last 15, 20 years.
It's a natural success thing as well. Women are looked for. Men are found. Men don't have the options, the opportunities that women have. So what they do is work to get more money so they look more enticing to a woman. Get in shape, hit the gym, do things to become more visible to women. But a lot of men can't live up to those standards, right? So they're not more so saying, where is my traditional wife, as where is the women at all? There's no one here that, the same way you would say, I wouldn't get with a conservative, or a lot of men haven't had sex, so they don't want a woman who's been with 50 men.
Which, by the way, makes no sense. Why would you not want an experienced trainer? It's the dumbest thing I've ever.
I mean, I definitely understand that, but in their head, and that all comes from a subconscious. When you're not involved, you feel like there's something wrong with you. So why would that person who feels like something is wrong with me then feel comfortable with that experienced woman? Because then in the back of their mind, they're going to say, I'm never going to live up to what she's had. So eventually she's gonna go.
I think part of the problem is like the narrative that men get, by the way, specifically from other men about way more often than I see women talking about it. But you don't need to go to the gym.
On that
a dad bod, I'm here for it.
I want to be careful on that because what we are trained with is what we're seeing everywhere, which is if he ain't 6 foot, 6 figures, 6 inches, six pack, I don't want him.
And I 100% believe you. Like, are the straight people okay? Maybe. Don't know. Probably
don't get
not.
Me wrong.
Because
I'm fine,
that's like
I find the people
that is
work,
definitely a thing in like if I will peep on Grindr every now and again. And there is still definitely a like no fats, no femmes problem.
Yeah.
Don't get it wrong. It is a thing, and it is specifically a male standard thing. Women have their own set of bullshit they have to live up to. One of the great things about not having a gender, I'm just fucking hot. But there's not a standard to live up to. It's just be hot. Got it. No problem. But the like idea that I literally don't know anyone who is with someone who has a six pack and works out and makes a bunch of money. Now, part of that is because I don't have any of those things either. So, like, those are not my people I'm fucking hanging out with.
Right.
I want to go play cards and drink a beer and get high. I don't want to go to the gym.
They all do CrossFit, strangely enough. They all do CrossFit.
Yeah.
So I do want to.
So it's just like, I think that you just have to, like, be a person and talk to people.
And
agree.
Like, and
not think
you deserve
expectations.
Something. Like, that's my biggest thing is people who think they're deserving of something when they're not willing to talk about what they bring. Like, I know what I bring, and, you know, on dating profiles and those kind of things, I'll say all that shit. Guess what? I ain't from Springfield, but I'll eat the kitty. 3 out of 4 sixes. Like,
Michael.
Whatever.
No.
So, whatever the case is, but guess what? That shit works. Like, putting it out there.
I'm sure it does.
So
I need straight women to do better.
Better fucking.
You shut your mouth, Sam.
Look, you've seen who I've been married to.
And actually, none of them are straight.
Like...
By the way, none of them are straight. These are all bi girls, and they come to me.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
bi wife energy.
Keep that dental dam in your back pocket.
I mean, dental dams are important sexual safety tools.
I do want to shout out Maddie, and I'm mad at Maddie for not just fucking hopping on the podcast because they're dropping in. She is dropping in some great comments. So I don't think it's necessarily a return to traditional values. Those young white men are the ones who came of age during the pandemic, a new breed of incel because of a lack of diverse socialization. They found each other online and were never challenged.
That's very true.
Now, I also
and the socialization of if the only place you have to look for, I cannot imagine if the only place you feel like you can interact with people in a like partnery way is an app, because apps are a nightmare hellscape. And also, if I'm out at a bar, I don't fucking want people coming up and talking to me. So like, I don't know what the answer to that is. Join a ceramics class or something. I don't know, but I feel like apps just suck so bad that they make you feel like shit no matter what is happening. You can't. Or you get laid a bunch and then suddenly you don't, and you're like, wait,
what happened?
Did something change?
What's going on? The algorithm changed is what changed.
The algorithm decided dad bods were out. Oh no!
That's all by their design too, though, right?
It is. They're not designed.
That's the wild part, and you can't let them fuck you to a point that you'll say, "I don't want anybody talking to me when I'm out, but I hate swiping left on these fucking apps." And then you become even more of an incel, right?
Like that's why I'm just like by my damn self.
Well, that's why
I say like I'm not polyamorous.
And then your only option are people you work with, because we're working 40 to 60 hours a week, and ain't nobody want that.
No, I'm not. But I just find it interesting, right? That you see these David Goggins and people like that, like the Marines and all the coming back into play where people are listening to them, when before it was that toxic masculinity shit, because they're telling people what they need to hear. You have to change your mind. You have to change your mind. You can't just be happy bitching about everything, but not doing anything to step outside of yourself and fix it. You know what I'm saying?
No, I agree. And a lot of that
they tried to run those people off for a reason, is what I'm getting at. They wanted people to continue doing that very thing so they could push them further and further into eventually you could just live life in this pod with this VR headset on. But unless you have people like them that are saying, get the fuck up, get out, go talk to somebody. Go say hello to somebody you don't know. You're not ever going to change your brain enough to feel comfortable interacting in public settings.
Well, and be able to interact without expecting anything in return.
Right.
Like, I think that's where you shift from masculinity, or not even masculinity, but from being a human being to being toxic. Like, if the only reason you're talking to someone is because you're expecting
get their
something
number,
in return,
trying to, right.
Then you failed. You did not understand the assignment. Like, when people say,
if somebody comes up and is like,
there,
"Hey, I love your tattoo," I'll have that conversation all day. Like,
Right.
hell yeah, let's talk about tattoos. I just don't like I don't look like someone who dates men. So, like, if you don't know, most people assume I'm a lesbian, which is like wrong in a few different ways. But so every time that I get hit on by a straight man, I am confused. And it's fine. Like, it's fine. You might be gayer than you think. And, boy with boobs. I get it. Sure. We love to see it. But it is always in the most skeezy way. I'm not sure if this is because I'm a fat person. And there's a lot of people who feel like entitled to fat women's attention because they're like, well, people don't want you, so you must be like psyched that I'm here, which is also not true and weird. But it's always sleazy. It's never like, hey, how are you? What's your name? It is literally like straight to, it is basically the social interaction version of sending a dick pic unsolicited.
Well, and
They'll just be like, hey, you want to like go to the, and I'm like, what the fuck? I don't know you. I don't want to go anywhere.
Get that. You're going to get that. But some people are genuinely just going to come up and admire your tattoos, and you can't be
those people I like and we talk to. Just say, no, I talk to those people just fine.
Just swipe
everybody that approaches you is a dick pic. You know
honestly,
what I'm saying? You're gonna
part of that is also definitely my neurodivergence in that like social cues and social situations are hard. And if I do not know what is expected in a social setting, like if I'm not sure how a certain social interaction is supposed to go, I feel like I'm going to vomit the entire time.
That's how people
I still do it if I have to, because like I gotta. Like
that's
if it's
how
at work
people
or something.
rile themselves up, whether it be with politics, conversation, whatever the case may be. You can't rile yourself up. That's why I say just ride. Like don't expect. Don't try to guess the next word that's coming out of motherfucker's mouth. Just ride. And see where the conversation takes you. And if it veers in a direction that you weren't headed in, it's been nice speaking with you, and be on your way.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like how I do approach things. But when people come up and talk to me, my brain is like, okay, how is this gonna be? And then when they're a normal human, I'm like, oh, dick yeah, let's like have a conversation. Love that.
Listen, God forbid, but if the
I also don't leave the house, so you know.
If the election said that they was rounding up black folks and taking them to camps, oh fucking well, let's see how they get me. You know what I'm saying? I'm not about to work myself up over something that hasn't shown up at my doorstep.
It's hypothetical.
I'm not going to create an issue even though you said there might be one. There's not one. Even if you announce it, it's not an issue.
I think for me getting worked up is once again not so much an issue for me. Like I'm safe. I pass as a white woman 95% of the time, whether I like it or not. And I'm in a very blue state that is very like pro. So I like might have somebody yell like tranny at me or something, but that's like the worst thing that's probably going to happen to me.
Right.
I'm very safe, but I do actually care about other human beings. And there are other people who these scenarios are literally happening to right now. So like I get not wanting to get yourself worked up because that is useless. Like, I'm currently looking at local queer groups I can go like volunteer for and shit. So I feel like I'm doing something with my energy. And I think just sitting there and being like, I'm sad is also useless.
Yeah, it's useless.
But I don't think it's wrong to like acknowledge that this can be bad and is actively bad for people.
Well, and I think too, like the phrase that was thrown around, the different groups that I'm with was think local, act local. Like, control what you can control. And that's honestly something that, I've shared with players throughout the year in terms of kids that have played for me. Like, you can't control everything that happens around you. All you can control is your reaction to those things.
And definitely beyond that, we all know from the airplanes, you got to put your oxygen mask on first.
Right.
And that means mentally as well. You can be an empath, but if you're taking in so much that it's affecting you and your everyday, then you need to step back.
Yep.
It's okay to care about people's lives and, hope that one day it gets better for them, but every day doesn't have to be a fight for them.
Right.
And that
is a lot to fight for yourself.
To say that is a very important lesson that I am literally still working on learning, because I will just be like, I can't stop watching these like videos of this situation in Gaza. Like, I can't, I feel sad. Like I should be doing something, but I don't have money. I have donated resource and time when I've had them, but like, there's not anything else I can do. I'm on the other side of the country. So me just sitting there being sad about it doesn't help anybody, doesn't do any good. And also, I don't know how to not do it. And every time that I'm like, I should take a step back, this is stressing me out too much, I'm like, okay, but like the people literally getting bombed can't take a step back. They're probably pretty stressed.
So then I like
feel bad that I'm giving myself a break, which is also silly because like you said, you have to be okay to help other people. But it's such a like weird, I need to care for myself, and also caring for other people does help me care for myself.
Yeah.
It may sound bleak, right? But we don't know that our time's not coming.
That's fair.
Save your energy. Save your strength. You may need it. You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
So
guys, I mean, it might sound rough to say, but it may just be their turn right now. Our turn seems like it's coming.
I just hate that we live in a world where there's turns and we're just like, yeah, it's their turn, I guess. I think that is just what happens. We live in like a world and there's tons of things happening all the time that we can't control. I'm just more aware of them now because the internet.
Right.
But it is hard to know that there's so much terrible things and you can't do anything.
But that's because
then I get hyper focused on things around here. I feel like I can control.
And that's also by design.
Good or bad.
That's also by design. They want you focusing on the negative and not the positive. They want you to be, doom and gloom and not following Mr. Rogers' lesson, like look for the helpers. You will always find positive in those dark spots.
And what you look for is what you find.
Right. Maddie coming in with a couple of other comments. So first rule of fighting authoritarianism, don't react to something that hasn't happened yet. Second rule, fight like hell every step of the way.
That's all.
Don't give them the rights before they take them away.
Right.
I'm not concerned.
I am concerned in a vague, like this is going to be fucking annoying way. But either there's going to be like either literally nothing is going to change except in 4 more years we'll vote somebody else in and we'll have the exact same fucking conversation again. Right. Or there maybe will do a thing. And at this point, like revolutions are messy. I would rather not exist through one, frankly, as a like hot mess human being who's barely making it in like pretty okay conditions. Don't really want to live through a revolution. And also, like, I'm down to clown. So I guess we just gotta see what's gonna happen.
Right. My whole thing is what
I
January
do need to buy a
6th,
gun.
5th. When does he get inaugurated?
Or
the 5th?
I think
first week of
the
January.
6th. The 20th.
They can't do it on the 6th.
No, the 6th is when they're supposed to affirm the election results, which is what they did the coup whatever during last time. The is when the actual
Okay.
inauguration
So
is
you
on.
got until the 20th, right, for Trump to take office. Now, I find it very ironic that a lot of, and this is just my take, and I could be completely wrong, but that whole vibrational movement and all that came from a lot of liberals. There's no reason to crash the plane now because you feel like somebody's in office that could do keep vibrating, right?
Right.
Keep vibrating. And maybe by the time January 20th comes around, we have a different outcome instead of us manifesting something that we don't want. It's never a time to throw a tantrum, right? Like we train our kids, get your shit together. But then when we get older, we seem to forget that that wasn't right to do in the first place. And we have things like laws and prisons to remind us why it's not correct. And even that doesn't work sometimes.
Well, and even that's a whole other can of fucked up system.
But my whole thing is, the more we think about something bad taking place as a collective, the more we'll make it happen. So there's no point in everybody throwing hissy fits right now. Keep doing your job. Keep raising your frequencies. And hopefully your frequency makes it to the White House. But other than that, there's nothing we can do but hold on and ride.
Amen.
My current vibe is definitely I'm like I was pissed and then I was sad and now I'm in the like whatever nothing matters phase. And then in like a week I'll be like, actually fuck all of these people. I need to go do this like the spite is gonna kick in. They just have somehow made me more trans, I think. I don't know how that's I mean, I guess I'll legally change my name. I don't know what shave my head. I'm not sure. I do not want top surgery, so I'll just have to figure out a thing beyond testosterone I want to do. Because I'm just going to become transier. Just going to get gayer. I want them to hate. If they're going to, like, they want me dead anyway, I'm going to make sure that they really do.
You know, it's funny because
I'm
Maddie,
not here for assimilation in any way.
Maddie just commented, resisting the millennial urge to say, or we all die, so win-win.
Right.
Literally, yes. Once again, I'm taking out a bank or something.
I tried to tell you.
That's so reasonable.
You put your life savings on it. If he fails, so wash. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, that's fair.
She said they made her more trans. Listen, I don't know. Y'all can have the 4Bers too. Y'all could be LGBT 4B.
I will be intrigued to see if the 4B thing happens here to the same extent. It seems like it happened in South Korea. I don't know. We're gonna see how it goes.
That's not 4B. They just knew it was time to tighten up.
I just am confused, I think, there's so many talking points, right? And like you said, we're going to change whatever we talk about for the audience because that's just how it works. The amount of time that they spent talking about how we need more babies because there's like a population is low, but also fuck the immigrants because they're taking all of our jobs. So we can't add more people, but you better be having children. But also, if those children are gay and or trans, do not support them. And in fact, potentially put them in a place that will harm them. Like, it's just, I'm confused whether or not, like, I'm not fit to be a parent. And also, I'm a bad person for getting a hysterectomy because I should be having children. Like, I have so many questions. Just for all of it.
Is if Trump plans on that mass deportation day one and you thought they was fucking shit up right now? You thought that they was fucking shit up right now? Oh, buddy. Wait till January comes. You gonna see
even have
Venezuelan gangs popping up everywhere like the neighborhood was off. Like, you gonna turn the corner and be like, what? Always? that like that.
It's just dumb, I think. Once again, I'm more left than most humans. I don't know why I give a shit if people come to my country. Like, I don't. The issue is that people need resources, not that we don't have enough space. And, like, that's true for everybody. I don't know. Let every fucker in. I don't give a shit. But, like, I also want to be able to leave.
Yeah, you
easily.
say that.
So, like,
you
if we
say
could
that
do.
now, where you
I would
worry
like
about
like
fending off cock pictures at the bar. Wait till you gonna have to fend off.
I mean, I
out
don't
that motherfucker.
think an increase of immigrants will lead to an increase in things that are problematic for me specifically. I'm not too worried about that. I do think it'll be really funny when people get really mad when everything is more expensive, because if they do a mass deportation, all of the cheap labor is gone.
Right.
And then I don't want to pay $7 for an orange.
And then you're gonna do tariffs.
But, like, who the fuck
is
is picking the oranges?
And then you're gonna
because right now I know it's mostly migrant workers they're underpaying.
And then you're gonna do tariffs on top of it. And we think this is gonna help the economy. I don't know.
The new Switch is supposed to come out next year, and it's going to be so expensive now. And I understand it's like the dumbest thing ever to care about. It's such a like first world nerd fucking bitch problem. But it's going to be so much more money now. And it was already going to be too much money for me. And I'm still going to fucking buy it because I'm an idiot. And it's just, I can feel the like, it's going to be rough.
I mean, we'll see.
All right.
Yeah, maybe not.
We're rolling up on 11. Anybody got anything else they want to talk on?
Who invented participation trophies?
I think technically the boomers invented them for us.
In general,
my parents are boomers. Are most millennial parents boomers or Gen X?
I would say most.
Maybe it was like a boomer. Gen X was sad that they got ignored as kids, so then they gave us trophies.
Whoever did that shit fucked everything up. I want that to go on record. Whoever,
I think things would suck whether we had participation trophies or
not. No. We're seeing it right now.
I don't know why that became the weird talking point. Because like every comedian in the world 10 years ago.
Like all the people, like you see it in corporate America right now. Like the motherfuckers at the top have no idea about what goes on at the bottom, and you need that person at the bottom that gets nothing at all to keep y'all afloat, giving y'all information because you didn't. And that's because of participation trophies at the end of the day.
Explain.
What you mean? Like you thought that just by being there, just by participating, you was supposed to get more, get looked at, and then the motherfucker who never got the participation trophies and was always taught to bust his ass first to come, last to leave type shit is the motherfucker that you keep down low.
Because he's the only one that can actually do the job.
Right, and that's why that's participation. So the participation dickheads, right, get to reap the benefits of the trophy while the motherfucker who's working, who actually gets the win, is like, I'm getting the same fucking shit as them, but they're getting more because...
Say, all of my bosses are boomers or Gen X. Not a single boss that I have got a participation trophy as a child. They're just like old white dudes. And I think there's like a woman on our board of directors of my job.
Yeah, if they're old, then that's different. That just means that they stuck out. They stuck it out.
They've been there forever.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that they're good either.
The failing up thing is very real. When they're like, well, we can't fire you, but you're shitty at this. So I guess we're promoting you to go be shitty somewhere else. It happens. So it's not always a promotion. Sometimes it's just a shuffle.
Move,
but we technically can't fire you because we don't want to deal with litigation, but you suck. So we have to just put you somewhere thing is
I've never
very
been that
real.
good at shit.
It always makes you wonder.
I'm sure that is true.
How does that one person,
I bet you've had managers who suck. and who don't know how to like use a spreadsheet or open an email.
It's
or
all
type
kinds of
without
shit
using
like
capital
that's where
letters.
the participation trophies came in. Because if you'd have took those little bastards and be like, you don't get shit, you were awful. That would motivate them to do better the next year, or they would quit the sport. Either way, it's a benefit to everyone else around. You feel what I'm saying? But since you allowed them to have participation trophies, they thought that they could stay in something even though they were mediocre at it. And right now, we've just been promoting so much mediocrity because of these fucking participation trophies.
Right, because as long
Here's
as you
the thing,
listen
though.
to
Everybody I know who that applies to didn't get participation trophies. They're just old.
And that's like you stood the test of time. You can't.
I
talk
got
about
participation trophies all day, but I don't do anything I'm not good at immediately because I was a gifted and talented kid who was taught I had to be good to be useful. So if I'm bad at something, I'm fucking out.
I mean, I don't think that that's a bad.
I don't know anybody.
I don't think that's a bad thing to teach a kid.
Trophies who's crushing it.
Like, you're not the best at that, kid. I don't know if that's what you want to do.
Oh, trust me, coaching youth sports this past season, there were 3 kids that had no business being on an athletic field of any kind playing flag football.
And they'll realize it unless they get all these participation trophies.
They all got their participation medals at the end of the season.
You hear what I'm saying? And they standing proud, cheesing for the camera like, you dropped 6 balls this season. You ain't get 1 catch, and your bitch ass got a medal on your shirt.
And
ready to go steal the position of somebody that can
difference.
actually do it. 10 years later, you fucking little Richard.
Oh man, is that all you got, Cliff? Is that all you got?
Yeah, I just had to get that out. Get that off.
Sam, you got anything for us? Anything you want to wrap up
hard.
with?
Be nice to each other.
Amen.
Unless they got a participation trophy strapped to their motherfucking chest.
Unless they're a Nazi. It's okay to punch Nazis. And I stand firm on that.
Hey, what would Captain America do? He'd punch a fucking Nazi.
Well, see, that's another thing. The Nazis been perverted.
We gotta go because I don't have
a Nazi was a specific thing back in the day. Now people's views make them a Nazi. So you blurred the lines.
Okay.
Just like you did with all kinds of shit. You try to do a racism. What's the new? Not new. It's definitely not new. But the one that blew back up with the Israel Gaza anti-Semitism. You blur the lines of everything to where the real thing is hard to identify.
I think that's a fair.
People came up thinking now motherfuckers is thinking skinheads is Nazi. Bitch, you're not a Nazi. You're a poser.
Hey, you leave the skinheads alone.
Well,
okay, punch Nazis and also people who share Nazi-like beliefs and values.
There you go.
Whether they are part of the Nazi party or not.
That's dangerous too, because motherfuckers is watching CNN. You know what I'm saying? Everybody is a Nazi on CNN.
We do not have time to unpack that.
It's the scary shit. They try to scare you. Everything's the boogeyman. Now motherfucking regular people are like, what the fuck did I do? When they described you as a Nazi on TV last night, sir. That's what you did. Now you just got punched.
Well, yeah, I will punch somebody. I'm not sorry. If you're like, yeah, I don't hate the Holocaust, I will punch you. Like, no, you're bad and you should feel bad. Like, you should not. I don't respect you.
That's a wild thing to say right there.
Respect. So, like, I'm fine with that. I'm at peace with that part of my
Listen, I'm just saying, if somebody says to you that they don't hate the Holocaust, you completely ignored the dick pic approach that they came to you with.
That's how they get you, though. That's how they get you. They sneak in and pretend to be like nice, normal dudes who like paint their nails so you can trust them or whatever. And then they say some fucking wild out of pocket shit that they just assume you will agree with because you're a white person. It's wild. Like, I wish that this was not also true in the queer space, but queer spaces are almost worse in a lot of ways because a bunch of queer people think they can't have other isms and obias because they're gay. They're like, I can't be racist. I'm queer. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Why would that matter? How would that affect that? Like, I don't understand. Those are
there are plenty of dickheads in the queer community too.
Unfortunately, Andrew Tate just really gets under the skin of everybody, whether we like it or not.
Oh, Cliff, take us out. What you got?
What you want me to rant again? No, I'm just playing. Love everybody, man. Vibrate high. We got a couple more months before y'all need to be hitting the eject button, you soft ass bitches.
That's my plan for the evening, vibrating.
You know? You can't reach the levels. You might as well.
Look, we're all just trying to survive.
You know what I'm saying?
Do us a favor. Like, share, subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Tell an enemy. Tell them to troll. And thank you, Sam, for joining us. Cliff, as always.
It's a great time.
Peace out, fools.
Appreciate you.